This is the Manlihood Mancast. Here's your host, Josh Hatcher.
On the internet, he has definitely been entertaining and a lot of fun to watch as he tells his stories and shows the crazy life he lives. He grew up a city boy and then decided to be a country boy, and that has created a very interesting story that he's been kind of unfolding in short little Instagram and TikTok videos, one 60-second video at a time. And we're going to get into this with Samuel Ayres in just a little bit. But before we do, I want to introduce you to this amazing knife that was made for you. It was made by Travis Haynes at Haynes Knives, and we're going to be giving it away on our website, manlihood.com/contests. So just go over there. You can enter to win. It's free to enter. This knife is gorgeous. It's called the Black Pearl, and it's all black. It's just gorgeous steel. It's hand forged, and I think you're going to like it. It's going to be an excellent addition to your everyday carry collection. So make sure you go to manlihood.com/contests. Free to enter. If you want to get extra chances, you can give me $1 for every chance, and it'll give you a chance to win it. So we'll be giving it away in season 7. So that'll be coming up fairly soon here, guys. We'll be bringing you several episodes in season 7, about a year's worth of content that we've already got planned out. We've started creating, and it's good stuff. So I can't wait to be able to bring that to you. Lots of exciting things are going to be happening in season 7. But you've been listening to season 6 this whole time, and you've had some amazing insights into the world of being a man from some amazing guests, including today's guest, Samuel Ayres. Samuel, it is great to have you on the show, man. How's it going?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Just surviving the frozen northern wastelands here up in northern Montana.
Yeah, it's awesome. We got hit with, in Pennsylvania. I'm in Bradford, PA, which is kind of like the icebox of the Northeast. We get really cold temperatures, and it's been really warm. And then we just got hit with this random snowstorm that, I went into a place and I came out 2 hours later and we'd gotten like 6 inches of snow in 2 hours. I'm like, what just happened? It's crazy. So
I love the winter. I love the snow, but I've got about a few more weeks of it left in me before I just lose my shit. Yeah. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done with it this year. It's been a crazy year.
Why did I move to Montana?
Oh, that question is never asked. Right.
Which
well
actually
aware.
Is kind of, I know that's kind of your story, right? You were a city boy, and then you decided to not. Tell me about that, man.
I was about as city boy as they come. I mean, like, I grew up in the suburbs of Southern California. I was more a beach kid than anything. But I wanted to get into. I grew up in the suburbs. I wanted to get into advertising. Went to college for it, and that was all my world was focusing on building this career. I wanted to be the dude driving I had my little 2-seat Roadster convertible. I wore my 3-piece suits. I wanted that penthouse corner apartment in LA. That's all I wanted out of life. Like, that was the dream for me, and it's a little bit different from what I'm doing now, to say the least. If you'd told me or anyone that knew me back then, funny enough, I was just talking. I had a meeting with an old buddy of mine that knew me when I was right out of college, and we hopped on Zoom, and I was like, dude, would you have ever expected me, of all people, to be this dude that lives in Montana, like this bearded, tattooed guy that lives in Montana on a ranch out in the middle of nowhere, doing all this stuff? He's like, I would have never guessed it, but I wouldn't ever put it past you. He's like, you are the type of person that is like, you're all in on everything. He's like, anything you do, you just are balls to the wall, go for it. And he's like, so would I have ever guessed that you would do that? No. Would it have surprised me in the slightest to find out you had? also no,
Right. Right. Yeah. Like I wouldn't have pictured you doing that, but I figured if you're gonna go all in on it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not the
Buy
I'm not
goats
the
and
type of guy to get
cows and-
like one chicken. I'm the type of guy to get 40 and then double it, 6 months later.
So what inspired this change for you, man? What made you go from city boy to country boy?
I mean, that is a whole 2-hour podcast in and of itself. I'll try and give you the summarized version. I mean, it was kind of because it was such a myriad of different things that kind of like little bits and pieces that kind of fit in, and I'd run into something and it would kind of, the puzzle piece would fit and I'd keep going. A lot of it was I went to a Vegas bachelor party. Uh, that Vegas bachelor party resulted in me buying my first gun. We went to the gun store. We shot all the, fully automatic rifles, and it's like, that's some man shit right there, right? It's like, oh, and I went and shot the 50 cal Desert Eagle. I mean, if we want to talk about unnecessary handguns, I shot that thing and I just felt it reverberate through my whole body. And I just remember thinking to myself, this is incredible. I have to have one of these. So I went and bought a Desert Eagle. Because why not? And, then my buddy found out that I like to shoot. And so we took this rifle training course together, and I got really invested in that and started teaching. Once I started teaching, I was like, well, I want to do more with this. So I started getting interested into hunting, and I started looking into hunting. And at the same time, I mean, what motivates half of what we do as men, right? A woman. I started dating this woman, and she was super into country music. So I started listening to more country music. And like all of these things happened, and I started getting more into hunting. And through getting into hunting, I started getting attached to different communities, and my values started changing. And I mean, I could really go into detail on a lot of this stuff. Like I said, it'd be 2 hours. But it was this kind of gradual change over the course of maybe 5 years that, like I said, I went from being this clean shaven 3-piece suit wearing dude to the guy I would go into the office and they'd call me Country Sam. Which was it was wild. But it was kind of this like gradual change, and it was all of these different things. And it was you kind of get to the point where you have to take a leap. You can only get so far in the pool before you have to jump in completely, and I feel like that was kind of what finally moving to Montana was. I mean, actually, I don't even know if it was finally moving to Montana that I would say was the full leap. Coming up here, I think is the fully into the pool. I got pretty much as close as I could. The hunts I went on, the adventures I took, moving to Montana, but I moved outside of Bozeman. I was effectively still in a big city. And coming up here, though, I'm 40 miles. It's a little town called Havre, Montana, that anyone that knows Montana will probably go, oh, when you tell them about it. It's a teeny little town. It's far north central Montana. I live 40 miles north of that. I'm 3 miles from the Alberta border crossing. I could spit into Canada. And it's remote. It's the most remote I've ever lived. Short of being on hunts, I haven't been this far, from a from a Walmart in a long time. But it's really, I just kind of committed to the lifestyle. I was dabbling enough, and I realized like this is something I wanted. So screw it, I did it. That's so often. I don't know, man. Like it's so often you hear people talk about like, oh, I wish I could do that, or I want to do that. I'm like, okay, so do it. Like literally just do it. And I mean, I had the benefit of at the time, no wife, no kids, it was me and the dogs effectively. So yeah, I could legitimately just pick up and go. Moving to Montana like happened over a 3-day period. I was visiting a buddy. We were duck hunting, and he basically said, "You're gonna take this job," and he's like, "You can still do all your own business stuff." He's like, well, "I want you to take this job. We're gonna pay for your rent. Come out." And so 3 days later, I had a place basically.
I think that's the thing that so many people get hung up on is, you know, you've got a job or you've got this life and you think, this is who I am. I can't change, but I've always wanted to do this. And then they'll just like stay there, you know, and you don't really have to. I mean, for you, it was packing up and moving to Montana. For some people, it could be just as simple as making a change in their lifestyle or doing something different. And it's like, yeah, be who you want to be, man. That's awesome.
You know, bro, I should really start working out. Well, get your fat ass off the couch and start working out then. Like, literally, do some burpees in your living room. Like, you don't even have to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Do something, you know? And
Exactly.
you get so much of that. Like, and I get it. You know, if I'd been married and, you know, had kids and all of this stuff, I would have had to make those choices.
Yeah, the choice would have been harder or more complicated to make, but not impossible.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it's, you know, the whole concept of like, oh, well, I wish I could do that. It's like, you can. I don't give a shit who you are. You can do that. It's just you're not willing to sacrifice to do it. Are you willing to sacrifice your comfort? Are you willing to sacrifice your bank account? Are you willing to sacrifice your complete and utter sanity by switching, you know, from your full-time job to your side hustle to give yourself more and less freedom at the same time? But
Right.
you know, what are you willing to sacrifice?
So tell me more about your ranch, like your life. Like I mean,
I say ranch very loosely. Homestead would probably be a little more accurate term. You know, I think the technical term is ranch because I don't grow crops, so it's not a farm. But I don't know. I'm getting in the weeds here. Homestead would be a more accurate term. It's 7 acres. It is a very abused 7 acres. I got this thing for a steal, and there's a reason I got it for a steal. The term we use up here is it's pretty farmered together. It's just what was done was the bare minimum that needed to be done to get something to work. Stuff's duct taped together. Things are, you never know what's going to happen when you flip a light switch in this place. You don't know if the light right in front of you is going to go on or one in the back of the house is going to go on. This place is bizarre, but it is up in the middle of nowhere. 7 acres. It's a pretty big place. But the thing that really drew me to it was it had a full 1,200 square foot workshop with a roll top door. And it had an old barn built in the 1920s that was, I mean, it's got holes in it and, you know, cracks in all the boards and everything, but that thing is solid as a rock. I'd probably feel safer in that thing than I do in my house if a tornado came through here. But it's Montana, so we don't get those.
Right. Just
but
Chinese
yeah, it's a
balloons.
Cool property, man. I've got, you know, since I've moved here, I've done some renovations. You know, I'm working on refinishing my basement. I built a whole gym down there, with some very farmered together gym equipment too. You know, I've got the good old fashioned black pipe pull up bar bolted in with the flanges. I think the one I'm proudest of right now is my cable machine that I built. It's just with some pulleys and cable from the hardware store, and then I attached them to some pipe fittings with a flange, so you can just slide your weight plates down on it, and you can do, you know, have I made different like the rope pull attachments and all that crap. Like, it's, you know, it's very farming together, but it's a very satisfying workout. And I've refinished a lot of the barn. I've got 5 goats now. And I think I'm up to 100 some chickens, something like that. Got some rabbits. Got more goats coming. Hoping to get some llamas. That's gonna be the next.
If you can spring for alpacas, you get a little more value out of them because you can get a lot of money for the wools from the wool from the alpaca. So
Yeah, but they're just not aggressive enough for me. I want the llamas, one as packers if I can get them big enough, and two as guardian animals. I want some aggressive ass llamas that'll scare away the coyotes.
My neighbor that I used to rent from years ago out here, and I've grown up in the country, so country life is, we raised meat rabbits and chickens and the whole 9 yards for a long time. But my neighbor, we rented from him, and he had an emu that would get loose. And you want to talk about an aggressive guard animal, an emu, dude? They will attack anything.
Those things are nasty. Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos of those. I think I'm good. I think I'm good staying without the emus. I've got some geese also coming I've got some African geese coming. I don't know, this May, something like that. And those will be aggressive enough birds for me. Those things will mess you up.
Or swans. Swans are also pretty aggressive.
Oh yeah. I don't feel like digging a pond for the swans though.
So, Sam, I found out about you from your TikTok. I think that's where I first kind of ran into you, which is like 75% of you making self-effacing jokes about your love life or lack thereof. And then 25%, you're working in your workshop or you're working on the farm and goofing off and having fun. And that's definitely been, I think it's probably the best part of my feed if I'm scrolling on the internet is seeing the goofy stuff you're up to, man.
It's TikTok is wild, man. I always, I just turned 40 2 weeks ago. And when I started my TikTok, it was a few years back, and I run a marketing business, a digital marketing business. I also have my own lifestyle brand and a podcast, and it's all kind of tied together with the outdoors and hunting and fishing and homesteading. And some of my employees for the marketing side of things, they were crawling up my butt, and they were like, "Sam, you got to get on TikTok." Like, man, I think I was like 37. Like, I'm 37 years old. I don't need to be on TikTok of all things. I'm like, no, man. Got to get on there. It's going to grow your brand. So I finally kind of started grumpy old manning it for a while. And once I realized I could make money on TikTok, then I was fully committed. And I don't know, it was always the kind of I'm the kind of guy that just throws everything at the wall and would post a bunch of stuff and see what sticks. I figure, if 1 out of 10 posts goes viral, boom. And it's been a while since I posted. I've just been busy and needed a good mental health break from social media. But one of my last videos, it's my most popular one, hit 4.5 million views. I put up a dating application. I went and I was standing out in front of my barn with my coffee, and I always get these comments like, "Oh, where can I apply? How do I get in on this?" I was like, screw it. Made an application, put it link in the bio. It's just a Google form, and I made it like super offensively intrusive. Thinking like, okay, I might get a few joke applications, whatever, be funny. We're talking they had to upload a headshot, put in their height, weight, financial status, how their last relationships ended. Like, it was like 25 questions long. I put this in. I think the total is up over 5,500 responses.
Well,
the internet's a weird place, dude. It's a weird freaking place.
You inadvertently became the object of desire for women all across the country just by
dude. And we're talking like applicants from 18 to 67 was the age range.
Dude, man, those older ones, they probably know how to take care of the homestead.
Don't get me wrong. I may have sorted by the the older women and the higher financial bracket. Just guys got to look, right? I kid, dude. Lord.
My wife and I are celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary, and I'm like, and I don't know if it's that I'm sure it's that our relationship has grown, but like, I think she gets hotter every day, So, the older they are, I mean, hey, there's something to that. So, no, dude,
I don't think I'm going for the 67-year-old widow, though.
I mean, then you have time to start over too. So,
shoot, bro.
sorry, I have a bad sense of humor. It gets me in trouble a lot. So.
Oh man, I'm trying to keep it at about 50% right now.
So, one of the things too that you've talked a little bit about on there, and I like that you don't talk about it a lot, because I think that it, well, there's a reason for it, but you talked about becoming a foster parent, which that's that first of all, that's another reason I think I related to you in what you're doing, because my wife and I did that for a while as well, and that was something that was always in our hearts. But as a single young, well, relatively young, right? I mean, in comparison, single guy.
I don't know, that
eligible
memento
bachelor.
mori chart's looking awfully black.
Eligible bachelor, in the middle of nowhere, Montana, decides to take in some kids. What can you tell me a little bit about that story?
It's, you mentioned me being a little bit self-effacing about my relationship status on TikTok and my past relationships. I've honestly had a really bad run of relationships recently. It's been like every year, never fail for like the past 3 years. Like incredibly toxic people. Like I've had bad relationships before that just haven't ended well. This is like beyond toxic level of narcissism and things like that. It's pretty wild. And I'm getting older and I've wanted to start a family, and I really just had no prospects for it. And I've always kind of considered adoption or fostering. It's just kind of floated in the back of my head, and I'm like, I don't know. I doubt it's for me. And I'm like a single dude. I've never been married. I live out in the middle of nowhere by myself. Nobody's gonna give me a kid, for one. And I'm out of my church on one Sunday, and we have a guest speaker, and he works in the foster community. And he came and spoke, and I went and talked to him, and he's like, "Oh no, there's a huge need. People, I'm sure you would be a great foster parent." I'm like, okay, whatever. It was literally like, I'll sign up for info. All of a sudden, I'm having a call with him, and then he's like, "Hey, I can help you, connect you with the right people, so you can at least like get into the training and find out more." And then, like, all of a sudden, it's this giant snowball that just kind of happened because I went into this training, and I'd mentioned to him in the training, I'm like, I'm really interested in taking like teenagers, older kids, and I'd be open to taking siblings, things like that. And I suddenly became the most popular man in Montana for like, it was,
you want what?
Exactly. I mean, literally the day after my training, like this is supposed to be like an almost 6-month process to go through. The day after my training, like not a couple weeks in, they're already getting calls about me. They're like, "Hey, is that Sam guy? Is he approved yet for placements? We've got some." And because of that, they had a placement come up, and I got a call, and they gave me a provisional license early. And so this last September, had 2 preteens. Now one is a teenager, and 2 preteen boys come to live with me. They're honestly amazing kids. You kind of go into the fostering system, and they give you the worst case scenario, right? They kind of tell you all the horror stories about all these things that could happen. And, okay, they're going to be emotionally damaged, and they're going to like yell at you or not talk to you. And they're going to break things, or they're going to kick your dog, or, all this stuff. These are the 2 coolest kids. Very sweet kids. They're well behaved. There's issues here and there, but they're the coolest kids, man. And it is just me out here. Being 40 miles from town definitely adds some extra complexity. Fortunately, there's like this little country ass school about halfway into town that they go to. It's like full Little House on the Prairie, like 1-room schoolhouse. It's really cool, but
it may add some complexity, but it also probably removes some other complexity as well,
there's
because
there's a lot of stuff I don't have to deal with in town with them.
yeah,
I don't have to worry about them falling in with the wrong kids because there's like 7 kids at their school and I know all of them and their parents at this point,
exactly.
It's tough though. I run my own business. I have a bunch of stuff to do on the property. I'm trying to remodel this whole house because I eventually would like to sell this place and buy something somewhere closer to the mountains. I'm keeping the animals. I do bladesmithing on the side. We didn't even touch on that. I forge knives. I do all this stuff. And I used to be able to, I'd wake up at 4 a.m. I'd do my workout. I'd do my morning reading, this stuff. I'd go take care of the animals, and then I'd work as late as I needed to work. Now it's, I get up, I do a lot of that same stuff, but then I have to make sure I'm back taking care of the animals in time to get the boys' lunches made, make sure they're up and doing their workout. That's one thing, I'm pretty hard on them. I ride them like a drill sergeant. I'm not, I straight up told them, I'm like, we'll have fun, but we'll have fun as long as you do what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm pretty tough on them because they are cool kids and I see that they have a lot of potential. And I don't know how long I'm going to have them. So I want to instill as much structure and discipline into their lives and tools that they can use and take with them. Because, they could be gone next month or they could still be with me in 4 years. You never know. And, but yeah, it's, I used to do all this stuff and work as late as I could, but now I got to get to school and that's 20-mile drive for me to take them to school. So that's almost, 40 minutes out of my day in the morning, 40 minutes out of my day in the evening. Then I got to make sure I'm there to pick them up at the right time. Once they're home, work doesn't get done when they're home. I got to make dinner and then they got questions, help them with their homework. They always want to do something. And some days I do kind of, I was joking with one of my foster connections. And I was like, man, heard all of these great stories about like sullen teenagers that don't want to talk to you. I get the 2 that want to give me half-hour descriptions of the bug they saw during their game of tag at recess.
Yeah. Hey, man. And, as a parent who raised 4 kids and had some foster kids, and we mostly did like respite care. Like, so we were helping the foster parents by taking the kids for a week or a weekend or however long they needed. And we had a few long-term situations, but like you will remember and appreciate those moments, like, so if it ever feels like you're like, oh man, like this is crazy, like it's worth it. It's worth it. It totally is. So, but, yeah, I think that it's awesome that you decided to do that. And I think that more men should consider it. I think I fought it for a long time. My wife was all about it and she wanted to have 50 kids. And I'm like, I fought it for a long time. And finally I'm like, all right, let's do this. And
well,
it was
I think
good.
there's such a stigma against men. Like, not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but there really is against masculinity and men. And I think because of that, a lot of guys like myself just immediately think like there's no way I can do this. Like there's no one's going to give me a kid. Like it's not even that we're really against the idea as much as it's just like, no, it's not going to happen. Like, and I think at least that's what it was for me as a single guy. It's like we can't even go to amusement parks by ourselves because we're all horrible people apparently. Yeah, it's I think that is one of the biggest barriers is needing to realize there's a huge need and no, we can do stuff like that. And I was kind of talking about it and I had the benefit of not being able to think about it, not being able to overthink it and talk myself out of it because it all happened so fast. I signed up for the information. It was a Zoom call. That's zero commitment, right? And then he's like, well, I can just pass your information along and, they can get you. And then all of a sudden I'm like, well, okay, yeah, that's not a big deal. And then I'm like, oh, I'll sit in on the training. Just get ahead of it and make sure I want to do this. And then it just kind of kept happening and happening and happening. And, I wasn't able to talk myself out. I think if I had gotten a chance to like sit and overthink this instead of just doing it, I probably wouldn't be doing it now. And I wouldn't have had this experience
there in your life, man.
Exactly, man. Like, honestly, well, it's like what we were talking about earlier, right? We sit around and we don't do anything. We plan, we contemplate. Like I had quit my job and was running my own business, and I was staying with family, to quote unquote save up for a house. I was just looking for the perfect time to move. I was looking for the time when like my business was going to be running perfectly and I was going to have a consistent flow of income that was just that I could really rely on. And then, I was going to be in a good place financially, and my credit cards were going to be paid off and this and that. And I was going to have all my ducks in a row. Right. And, I had no ducks when I moved to Montana, man.
Yeah, they're on order now.
Yeah. No, it's just
seats,
like
it's not ducks. That's right.
I mean, there's never going to be a perfect time. You can sit and contemplate and plan and wait for your sign and the right moment, or you can just do it. The best trips I've taken, like, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go on a road trip. I went and rented, like, I was working full time. I just come back from a big like work trip, I was working in the music festival industry at the time. Just come back from a big trip for work, and I was like, I can't just go back to the office. Like, I'm exhausted. I just need some time for me. And my boss had just quit, so I pretty much sent out an email just saying like, hey, I'm working remote for the next 3 weeks. Like, I'd gotten it approved. And I just took off. I rented a truck, and I kind of had some waypoints, but I spent what was it? 3.5 weeks. The second trip was 6 weeks. 3.5 weeks just driving around the Rocky Mountain West in a truck. I think I did 6,000 miles in 3 weeks. Slept in my truck with my dogs almost every night. And I just went for it. Like, I didn't have places to stay. Like, I knew people in most of these states. I had that benefit. I could call people up and we'd hang out and have a beer, and I'd go on a hike. I went and saw elk and bison and this, and I checked out lakes and climbed mountains, and the weather ranged from below freezing to over 100 degrees, the different places I went. And I mean, it was absolutely amazing. And so the next year I said, screw it. I did an 8,000 mile road trip over 6 weeks and visited like 14 different states. I drove all the way to North Carolina from California. And it was, it wasn't 100% on a whim, but it wasn't like I planned it out for 6 months. I mean, I just kind of packed my shit and went, man. Like, and I think so often in life, we don't give ourselves enough credit that we can figure shit out. Right? Like, we'll sit and plan because we're worried, and we got to, and especially as men, like, we want to be able to, if you have a family, provide for them and protect them. And you want to make sure you can take care of those around you and yourself, and you can be capable. But I think we don't credit ourselves enough for what we are capable of. And like this fostering thing, I would have talked myself out of it because I didn't have answers for how I was going to get him to school and run my business. And, what am I going to do in this situation? And, well, in that situation, I just figured out, like, shit, they haven't died yet. I mean, they're still kicking and breathing. I keep getting good feedback, so I'm doing something right. And I think just so many of those best moments in our lives are so unplanned. It's just when we finally made a decision to do something and chase after something we want. Like, I mean, getting these dumb goats. Like, I was like, yeah, it'd be nice to have goats one day. And now I've got 5 because also that it has also something to do with my self-control issues. But right. It was just like, it was kind of these situations that I just kind of went for it. And, and I think you end up with the best results. And you know what? we're so scared of failure too, right? Because as men, we've got to protect and all that stuff, and so if
Gotta
we
do it right.
fail, God forbid. So we don't think big enough, right? We don't think big enough. We don't go for things unless we're actually sure that we're gonna succeed. And when you're the type of person that goes pedal to the metal, full tilt against everything, when you hit a brick wall, you hit it really fucking hard, really hard. But you get places so much quicker too. In the time one person can get to the end of the path, like I can hit 10 brick walls, but still make it there 10 times faster than they will, Like I'll run into more obstacles. I'll fall down. I'll end up bruised. I'll end up hurt a lot more than most people because I just go. I don't always look before I leap. Which, isn't, I'm not saying everyone needs to be exactly that way, but I think there's just some more people need to be a little more like that. Okay, look before you leap, but don't sit and analyze the distance and this and that and that, blah, 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 blah. Okay, Jesse, yeah, look, make sure you're not going to die and then take your leap. It's like, yeah, you may eat shit on the other side, but you know what? You made it across.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got a lot of mixed metaphors in there. So
that's right. It's good. It's good. I think about like even just starting this podcast. I mean, I started Manlihood 10 years ago and it was just a blog. And I'm like, I want to do a podcast. I really want to do that. And I remember talking to Ryan Mickler at Order of Man.
Yep.
And he's like, dude, just start before you're ready. I'm like, I'm not ready to do that. He's like, just start before you're ready. And so I did. And if I look back at the early episodes, I'm like, yeah, I wasn't ready, but that's part of the story. That's part of the journey, is that it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do with it. And it's a lot better and more rewarding to figure it out on the job than it is to sit around and never start it,
Well, so much of that stuff you would never figure out. Like you don't know until you fail at it, right? Or not even fail at it, just till you've tried it and okay, yeah, it's not optimal. So you optimize it, you make changes, you make adjustments. You don't know what those adjustments are going to be until you've actually gotten that far. I always talk about it kind of like a road trip. You start your road trip and you're like, you know what? I want to go to Montana. That's all you know is that you want to go to Montana. And like, you can do a little bit of research and dig down for sure. But until you get there, you're like, you know what? Actually, I want to go to that mountain range in Montana. Once you get closer to that mountain range, you're like, you know what? There's that cool, like wooded spot. I bet that has a really cool view. I want to go to that ridge on that mountain range. Then you get closer. You're like, you know what? There's a lake up there, bro. I want to go to that lake. You get closer. You're like, oh, I see that perfect camping spot right there. You make those little adjustments. When you started that trip, you may not have known about that mountain range, that ridge, none of that. You make those adjustments as you go. As you get closer, you gain more clarity and you can improve and get better. It's everything we do is they're waypoints, they're stepping stones. And you mentioned Ryan, and I'm a member of his Iron Council group, and we talk about battle plans in there. We set our battle plans, and I talk a lot about vision when I talk about my battle plans. And having a vision is so important because it gives you an end destination. Gives you a place where a direction you can head for your future, because otherwise, all these waypoints you're making in your life, they're just willy-nilly until you have a direction you want to go, until you want to go to Montana. Again, you may not know about that lake yet, but until you want to go to Montana, you don't know what waypoints to make. You could end up in Florida or Texas or, somewhere all over the place until you have a direction, until you have a destination. And so often, we do so many things to become better men and grow as men, but it's directionless. And it's like, okay, eh, that may work. And I think it's because we watch what other guys are doing and we're like, yeah, I need to do that to become a better man, right? It's like, well, does it align with who you want to be other than being just a better man? Like, that's so vague. Like, yeah, okay, we all want to be better men. Great, bro. Woo, good for you. Like, that's so vague. Get specific. What is a better man to you? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to have? What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? Get detailed. Stop living somebody else's life. Define what being a better man is for you, so you don't waste all this time like going over here, going over here, going over here. You can pick that most direct route to the person you want to be and enjoy life as that person. I mean, we never really get there, right? Like, I think if you're anything like me, I don't want to say constantly unsatisfied, even though that probably is a little bit accurate. But it's just like there's always that striving and that desire to chase something and improve and to grow and to, and to get better every single day. Man, I kind of went off on a little bit of a
that was good stuff. Yeah, and I was thinking about this too. Like, yeah, you get that vision of who you want to be, and then you get there, and then guess what? You've got time if you want to be somebody else too. I mean, that's kind of your story. Like, hey, I had success and I had a good life, but I wanted to try this, so I did. like
that's the other thing too. If we so often when we like codify something like and write it down, we almost feel like, okay, I'm committed to this come hell or high water. No, man. Like, just because you wrote on a sheet of lined paper, like after you had one too many whiskeys, that you want to do this, you want to become a bull rider, like, okay, cool, you go there, but you may get to that mountain ridge in Montana, you'd be like, this place sucks. Hell no. I want to go to Colorado. Like, which
that.
you can. Yeah, you're right. Like, it's malleable. It's like, so I don't know. I feel like we're scared to do things, and then once we decide on them, we're scared of failing, and so we don't commit to them. But then once we commit to them, we feel like when we can't decide that that's not the right thing for us anymore because we committed to it.
Yeah,
we're kind of dumb sometimes, man.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I've been there. So, yeah, hearing about your life, dude, and the your mini farm, I guess we'll call it, but 100 chickens isn't really a mini farm, but
the homestead. The homestead. That's what I've been calling it lately.
Like, it sounds like you've got a pretty good life going for you, and it's kind of cool to think that, yeah, who knows what's next, man? Like, you'll be like, all right, I got all these kids, you might have like 50 of them, and you might be like, we need a bigger place, who knows? Let's take them all to California again, who knows?
You can't even say things like that. That's just not even funny. California. Jeez.
Just my wife and I just went out and visited. We were in Murrieta near Temecula for a week, and I get there and I'm like, oh, now I see why people live in California. This is a pretty cool place.
Oh, yeah.
But we deliberately avoided the city.
There's a lot of wonderful things about California, and I could go down that rabbit hole for a while. There's a lot of wonderful things about California, and it is just there's a lot more not wonderful things.
It was great for a week.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, never know what's gonna come down the road. I make my plans and I work towards them, and then suddenly things happen sooner, some things happen later, things flip. You never know.
Yeah. Being flexible is important. So I love that you, one of the things that I'm kind of interested in is the bladesmithing. I've always wanted to kind of do that, but I've never had the opportunity. What is that like for you? Is that just a creative side hustle? Do you make money doing it, or is it more of a hobby, or what is this?
It's one of those things. I feel like every dude at one point in their life is like, you know what? I need to make a knife. Yeah. Like, I think that's like just a rite of passage as a man. Like, I think I don't know. I feel like we all have thought that at one point. And, you know, I'd always kind of been interested in it, but it was nothing I ever really thought I would take on. And on my podcast, I had one of my guests, and she actually wrote a book on beginner knife making. And I was like, okay, well, you know, check out her book and you support my guest. And so I picked up a copy and I read through it. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I might try some of this stuff. And as we discussed earlier, I don't just dabble in things. Look, I'm interested in this for 5 minutes. It is now part of my identity.
This sounds like classic ADHD symptoms to me, man.
Oh, it's full blown ADHD. Bro, I can sew you a Halloween costume right now, make you a knife, stitch you a leather sheath for the knife. I can go bake you some bread from the chicken eggs I just collected and the goat's milk I just milked. I was freaking milking a goat this morning, dude. Like, I can do that. I can kill you an animal, cook you an incredible dinner with it. Like, I am full blown ADHD. I see things like I crochet. Like, what? I mean, in fairness, again, I was trying to impress chicks in college. I learned that, but you know,
it works probably. You know, so yeah,
I made some damn fine scarves. Let's just say that.
I have a similar skill set. Yeah, between being a poet and being able to sew, and yeah, I get you. I kind of and
to be honest, if nothing else, make yourself more capable, right?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, I'm a single dude. Like, I've been perpetually single for a long time.
So who's going to sew the buttons on your jeans if you pop one off, you know?
Exactly. It gets a bit ridiculous when you're, you know, 40 years old calling up mom. Hey, mom, can I overnight you a pair of jeans? Like, homie, come on. But, you know, the bladesmithing thing, it was, you know, I mean, I got started pretty cheap and easy. I bought like $100 forge on Amazon. I was going to build my own, but then I'm like, my time's worth a lot more than this $100. So I just bought a little cheapo $100 propane forge on Amazon, bought some steel. I went to the local, like one of the local, like just thrift shops. I don't know. They just kind of collect a bunch of old shit. And I found like a steel I-beam, you know, or some people use railroad ties to start. Found some old hammers and tongs, and I just started making shit. And I went to the University of YouTube, and I read my friend's book, and I watched a crap ton of Forged in Fire, which we always joke about, but I've learned a lot from Forged in Fire. I've learned a lot of stuff not to do.
Great job at explaining everything. Yeah, it's an educational show.
It really is like a surprising amount of stuff. I do also sit there, you know, again, and I'm yelling at these professional bladesmiths, like, "Gosh, what are you doing? Why are you quenching it so hot, idiot?" But that's I think that's just natural with all reality television. But you know, I just kind of threw myself into it, and I discovered I do have a talent for it. Like, my first blade was absolute hot garbage. My second one was freaking awesome. I kind of figured some stuff out. I got it out of my system early, and then I started working on stuff. And, you know, every blade I would make, unless it was a specific commission for someone, even if it was a commission for someone, I would try and work something in. But something that I hadn't tried before or hadn't done before, or learn a new skill or a new handle type, or, you know, like daggers are one of the most difficult things you can make as a bladesmith, because, you know, normally you have like 2 edges that you need to kind of get even with. On a dagger, you have to have 4 edges that are all even. Got to get that center line straight, or else it looks like hot garbage. And I think like the 4th knife I ever made was a dagger. And my buddy, who I met, he found me on Instagram, and he's like, "Hey, can I come forge at your place?" He's like, "I'm an experienced blacksmith. I just don't have any place to forge anymore because I moved. I can bring over my tools and you can use them, and I can show you tips. Can I just forge with you?" And he's been a long-term friend ever since. But he told me, he's like, "Dude, you started making that thing." He's like, I never thought it would come together ever in a million years. He's like, it was like your 4th knife. And it's, to this day, it's one of the coolest coolest little pieces I've ever made. And it's got this geometric handle, and you know, it's a blast to try things new. It's a creative outlet for sure, and it's kind of self-sustaining. You know, I'm able to sell the knives I make. I have a few kind of more production style runs of knives, but in fairness, I haven't been in the shop in like 4 months because it's, well, one, been freezing ass cold in Montana, and two, it's life's a little more complex now with two preteen boys. But yeah, it's wild, man. It's a lot of fun, and it's cool. It's cool. Like, it's such a, everything about it is just so like masculine, you know?
Yeah. When there are certain things that you do when you do that, and I think everybody has a thing that when I do this, I feel manly. You know? Yeah, making a knife is pretty much like that. Hey, I've got a couple questions I got to ask you. I like to ask all my guests this. Sam, what do you think it takes to be a man?
Takes to be a man. I mean, aside from the obvious stuff, which is apparently not so obvious
Right.
these days, you gotta be born with the right equipment, the right chromosomes. What does it take to be a man? You know, it's a tough question. Like trying to think deeper other than the obvious. I mean, for me, it's a desire to really take care of others, to lead. It's weird. It's hard to really put into words kind of what I've got kind of spinning around in my head. I don't know. For me, it's a desire to be capable, I guess, is the best way to put it. Capable in everything I do. That's, you know, whether it's taking care of a home on my own, raising these boys, you know, whether it's hunting, whether it's leading other men, whatever I do, I want to be capable in that. You know, I don't think that's necessarily unique to only men, but you know, I don't know. This question's a tough one for me. What is a man? I don't know. I think it's with that capability thing, any situation you put me in, I am capable, is, I guess, kind of where I want to be, is whatever I run into, whatever I encounter, whatever life throws at me, whatever troubles, whatever situations or obstacles, whatever that is, I'm confident and I'm capable in tackling those. And I think it's not that we're perfect in everything. It's that we're striving towards that, and we're working towards that. And because I think masculinity, there's kind of a weight that comes with that, like an expectation. I don't want to say burden, but you know, toxic masculinity is always the word, right? You know, toxic masculinity is important. You know, who do they look for towards, you know, when shit goes south? It's those same qualities that society deems as toxic, right? Strength and capability for violence, and the capability to take charge without necessarily considering someone else's feelings, and all of these toxic things. It's when the shit hits the fan, that's what people go for. And I don't know if I'm really answering the question or not. Like, I don't feel like I have a super spectacular answer, insightful answer for, um, you know, what is a man?
I don't think it's a bad answer at all. I think that walking through that's honestly why we're doing all of what we're doing here, is because taking the time for us all to think about it, I think, is part of that process, you know? And I think that was a lot in there that was a great answer and a great springboard for conversation. So I think you answered it very well. Sam, if you were to run into the 10-year-old version of yourself, I don't know if you'd hop in a car like, in a DeLorean and get it to 88 miles an hour or what, but you have a conversation with the 10-year-old version of you. What do you want to tell yourself?
Stop spending so much damn money. Like, I mean, honestly, that is one of the huge things, is find financial freedom. The stuff the stuff you're going to want to spend your money on, don't. Find better things. And I think, honestly, I'd say that, but really what that ties back to is vision. And it may not be as interesting to a 10-year-old, but if I could instill it, if I could magically get myself to listen and be interested, I would talk myself through constructing a vision. Because so much of what I think about, and a lot of it was that ADHD and just wanting to learn to do things, but so much of it was just me not having a direction and trying to figure things out and be different people and get what other people had, and spending hundreds of dollars a night at bars. And if I could go back and just tell myself to pick a direction and focus on that, and really and stop getting distracted by all of this other stuff outside that, I think that would take care of a lot, and that would definitely take care of those financial issues. But super tactically, yeah, I'd say sort out your finances.
Yeah.
Hey, as my brother put it, he gave me at my graduation, he gave me the best advice anyone's ever given me. He said, "Sam, when you now that you're going into college," he said, "I want to give you two pieces of advice, two things to stay away from." He said, "Women and credit cards, and you'll live a happy life." And I failed at both royally. Oh, there you go.
That was some excellent advice, which brings me to my next question. And maybe it's the same thing. But what is your best advice for the men listening today?
It honestly, swallow your pride a little bit. It all ties into that vision, without just saying like write yourself a vision, because I feel like we write such ineffective visions. We don't strive high enough because we're too concerned about where we are now. Where we are now matters, because that is, we have to create those waypoints from where we are to where we want to be. But just because, someone's a lot closer to this than I am, doesn't mean that I can't also get there. So, strive higher with what you want in life. Be detailed. Again, we're not detailed because we're afraid if we commit to something, if we put it down, we might fail at it. Yeah, guess what? We're going to fail at a lot of shit. Might as well fail. If you're going to fail at something, might as well make it failing, because you're trying something that's way out here. You know what? It hurts my pride a lot less when I fail at this giant, enormous, ridiculous thing that I'm trying to do, versus failing at this like little half-assed thing that I, kind of barely committed to. Like, I can at least save you like that was ridiculous for me to even try. So who cares if I fail at it, right? So go after crazy shit. Don't ever say I can't do that, or I wish I could do that. Figure out what you would need to sacrifice to do something. Because you can. Like, I mean, shit, you could move to Montana right now. Like, it may not be worth the sacrifice to you, but you could do something like this. You could foster kids. You can move to the middle of nowhere and start a life, trying to build a self-sustaining life. You can go somewhere where it's harsh weather. You can learn to hunt. You can become a bladesmith. You don't need a bunch of stuff to forge your first blade. You can do it with some very basic stuff, half of which, if you've got a stocked garage, you probably already have. Just figure out what you need to do and do it. Write that vision. Don't worry if it changes. Don't worry about failing. Just fucking shoot for the stars, man. Seriously, like, just don't limit yourself and make things big and get excited about it. That's the other thing is when you start getting specific, you start getting excited, right? Like, cause those things are tangible. When you write things like, I want to be a leader. Okay, great. Like, who do you want to
lead?
Yeah. It's like, okay, I want to be a deacon in my church. And then I also want to lead this weekend discussion group and find those specifics. And again, man, it's like, okay, well, I don't know if I want that for sure. Who cares? If you think you might want to, put it down. When you get closer, you'll gain more clarity. And yeah, you'll have to pivot. Oh no, you lost a few months, you lost a year, whatever. It's, yeah. If you weren't moving, you would have lost that year anyway, right? So right. I don't know. That's kind of rambly, but just like grab onto stuff, man. Just stop walking by that piece of paper on your floor that you look at every time. You're like, man, I got to pick that piece of paper up and throw it away. Stop doing that. I talk with the guys, the guys in the group I lead. I always tell them, I call it paper on the floor syndrome, because that's the example I always get. And I always ask them, I'm like, okay, this week, what's your paper on the floor? What's the one thing that you need to do or you want to do that you've been avoiding? It's like, man, I've really been wanting to swap out, these fluorescent light fixtures in the house or whatever. Why haven't I done it yet? It's because I keep talking about doing it and not doing it. So I'm going to get my ass up from this desk and I'm going to go pull out a flip off a breaker first. Dear Lord, yes. Then pull out the fluorescent light fixture and put up this new thing I bought way back on Black Friday. Like, just do the shit you want to do.
Yeah. Sam, if our guys want to connect with you, they want to see the work you're doing, what's the best way for them to make that happen?
I'm on all the social medias. You can look me up. Honestly, if you type the Wild Initiative into just about any search bar, I'll pop up. If you go to that special site, you can also buy my feet pictures. I'm kidding. Lord, again, I'm kidding. No, it's actually it's a very special site. I have an account on there that's just me in white New Balances,
mowing
the lawn and turning and looking and saying, "Hey, I'm proud of you." I'd make all the money. Also giving instruction on how to hold the flashlight, but Instagram, Facebook, the ever-present TikTok disaster. You can follow me on there. If I've got the website, thewildinitiative.com, you can reach out there. I'm kind of currently changing the format. It was all about hunting and fishing and the outdoors, and that's what it really focused on. And now I'm really expanding it to more including homesteading and agriculture, and really just the concept of what we've been talking about, of building the life you want and doing hard things and developing that attitude of capability and really just kind of chasing and building the life you want. So
awesome. Well, I really have appreciated our conversation today, man. It's been kind of fun to have more conversation than just watching you on TikTok and actually pick your brain a little bit. It's been good, man.
No, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun. Can't wait for it to come out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Sam, thanks so much for being on the Manlihood Mancast with us today, man. I appreciate the work you're doing. I appreciate that you are committed to making a difference in people's lives. I appreciate that you have fun doing it and that you can entertain us and make us laugh. You're doing good work, man. I appreciate you. Guys, if you want to check out the work he's doing, the link is in the show notes. So hop on the show notes here. You can click straight through and go to visit the work that Samuel is doing. Anyway, guys, I wanted to thank you again so much for tuning in to the Manlihood Mancast this season 6. This has been an amazing time. We've had some amazing conversations, and we've seen some pretty cool people. Met some great men, and I've been really honored to be able to bring this to you. And I'm hoping that you guys continue to have conversations with us. You can join our Facebook group, the Manlihood Man Cave. It's for men only. Join the group. We'll ask you a question to make sure you're a man, then we'll let you in. We're going to build each other up there. That's what we do. We build up and encourage each other and point each other in the right direction. And it's been a really awesome experience. So I just wanted to thank you guys for being who you are, for being good at being men, and for encouraging me. So keep tuning in. We've hit 500,000 downloads so far. Let's see if we can hit 1 million in season 7. I think we can do it. Anyway, guys, I love you and I care about you. I'll see you next time.
If you want to be a better man, check out our website, manlihood.com, for blogs, videos, and more from our Manlihood team. Man, you can also join our private Facebook group, Manlihood Man Cave, where you can meet up with a band of brothers who will challenge you and help you on your journey of manhood. This episode is produced by Hatcher Media for manlihood.com. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you're listening to the show. Tune in again for more of the Manlihood Mancast.